What's up, guys? Welcome to Among the Fence, my YouTube channel where I do music reviews. My name is Aaron. If you got anything you want me to check out, leave a comment below letting me know what it is, and we'll get you squared away. But for today's review, we're going to be checking out the new album Radical by the band Every Time I Die. For those of you who don't know who this band is, they are a metalcore band from New York. They started in like 1998, so they've been around for forever as far as like metalcore and hardcore goes. And Radical is their 9th studio album. I gotta admit, now, I'm not like too familiar with this band, but somebody requested that I do a review on Low Teens, like right when I started my channel. So I started listening to them back then. I never got around to doing the review on it, but it turned out to be like one of my favorite albums. Map Changes is like one of my most listened to freaking songs of all time. And I kind of fell in love with the band back then. And honestly, like ever since then, I've been looking forward to something new coming out from them. And I finally got it. The album starts off with the song Dark Distance, which the lyrics portray basically giving up on humanity. It's got some of the heaviest freaking riffs on this album. Seriously, like every section of this song is just nasty riff after nasty riff. And the vocal cadence plays with the rhythm, just makes everything hit so much harder. And then the second song, Sly, it has a little bit more of a hardcore feel to it. The vocals and the chorus have a strong System of a Down influence. The verses are intense and extremely fast, and the bridge offers just a little bit of breathing room, but it gives you just enough to be able to make it through the rest of the song without feeling like you've been beat up the whole time. The next 4 songs that we're going to go over were all released as singles, the first one being Planet Shit, which is basically a reference to Earth. It touches on racism, corrupt police, riots, politicians, and the mental toll it takes on all of us. It starts out with a guitar lick that transforms into a heavy riff. The vocals are fantastic with huge, passionate screams in the chorus. There's tons of changes in the verses. This song is just, it's all over the place. And this song directly after is Post Bordom. It's got a super thick, bassy riff. The clean vocals have like a really cool, powerful effect on them. It's the catchiest song I've ever heard from Every Time I Die. Like I said, I'm not like super familiar and super well versed in all of their discography, but I mean, this song is so freaking catchy compared to everything else I heard. I honestly didn't really like it all that much the first time I heard it, but it's grown on me. It's become one of my favorites now. The chorus is huge and has a really good hook to it, but the bounciness in the verses is where it's at for me. And the riff and the bridge is just so good, and the vocals are impressively dynamic while still being kind of playful. The vocals throughout this entire album are just, there's just a lot of theatrics to them. They're all over the place. He's not afraid to just kind of be willy-nilly with his vocals in terms of his performance, it seems like. I did a review on the next 2 songs, A Colossal Wreck and Desperate Pleasures, back when they first came out. I did them together, but now I'll touch on them again, because why not? A Colossal Wreck is based on a poem about a tyrannical king who's basically made life miserable for all of his subjects, and he's left with ruin, and his kingdom's kind of falling apart. It's got a good reference to today's rulers and leaders and people who are in charge. It starts off very like in your face, kind of abandoning all hope in humanity. The guitars are kind of in like a free-for-all, and the drums and vocals are just trying to keep up with each other, it seems like. The bridge has a fantastic riff that's sick, and the outro is absolutely insane. Then Desperate Pleasures is very, very fun. It's got some great guitar work, great drum work. The vocals and the intro sound fantastic. The guitars come in very, very heavy in the verse, and there's this sense of like no holds bars kind of thing throughout this entire song. The second verse is very isolating with a bass line that gets covered by the rhythm guitar about halfway through, and the bridge is open with a huge, huge build-up. It's one of the best songs I've heard from Every Time I Die, and it's probably like one of the best songs that they've ever written as far as I know. Then we have the song All of This and War, which is basically like the title suggests. It's about war and the desire or the need to go to war. It seems like it's just something that countries just have to participate in all the time. It's got a very stompy, dynamic riff in the intro. Then it becomes even more complex and kind of scattered in the verses. The chorus has some cool vocal melodies that are then kind of taken over by a guitar melody halfway through. It's a really cool songwriting kind of thing that they did there. The grooviness just increases from there. It reminds me a lot of something that like Zakk Wylde would write, specifically in like the verses and just the rhythm section of this song. Then we have the song Things with Feathers, which is a reference on an Emily Dickinson poem about referring to birds as like hope. It's got a clean guitar melody, very like melancholy, and like it's also has like this Western kind of sound to it. It's really hard for me to place my finger on it. It's just, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of like a Wild West kind of thing, especially in like the bass and the drum sections. And then the distortion comes in the chorus. The clean, echoey vocals adds a lot of depth to the song. I wasn't expecting a whole lot from it because it's like one of their slower songs, but dang it, this one, Things with Feathers, is one of the more emotional songs that they wrote, I think. We're going to jump ahead to the song AWOL, which was another one of the singles that was released. It comes in hot with a dynamic guitar passage. The verse is like this bendy riff that makes you want to start bobbing your head. The chorus is high energy that kind of sticks around for the rest of the song. And the bridge has like this mini breakdown in it, which kind of gives you like a mini break from all the craziness that's going on in this song. But then it comes back in full force for the outro. I would say that, I mean, they released 5 singles for this album. This one to me was one of the weaker songs of the singles, but every one of the singles portrayed something different that this album was bringing. You think it's going to go one way with a single, and then they released something else. It was completely crazy. And this is one of the ones that I didn't like it that much at first, but then once I hear it in the full album, it's grown on me a lot. The song White Void is basically just straight up a hard rock song, which just shows off the diversity that's in this album. The vocals in the verse have like a Deftones quality to them, which I thought was really cool. The guitar and drums are the real showcase throughout this song though. Like in the verse, I got kind of stuck on listening to the Deftones kind of vocals, but then I just realized how crazy the guitar work was and the drums and just everything that they were doing. And like the songwriting in this is absolutely crazy. The bridge is superb with like kind of gunfire sounding drums and a screaming guitar. Then we have the song Distress Rehearsal, which is very, very thrashy. The chorus has like a lot of peaks as the guitar riff starts screaming along with the vocals. The second verse has like this jackhammer style riff to it. And the breakdown has tons and tons of dynamics and harmonics. And the outro is super dope. It's probably like one of the thrashier songs on this album, and I enjoyed it a lot too. Then we have the song Hostile Architecture. It's got like this scale driven riff to it, and the chorus is super catchy, while the verse brings out a lot of the heaviness of this song. While there's more of like a personal touch to this song, specifically in the lyrics, I found this one to be more just uninspiring compared to the others. Then the song Whip comes in very, very fierce. The chorus is all over the place with musical hooks, which the lyrics kind of seem to be lacking any hooks or any type of catchiness to them whatsoever. So it's mostly all in the music. It's still kind of uncomfortable sounding though. And the breakdown is super distorted. The guitars aren't really that compressed though. So you're kind of like, wait, is this a breakdown? It doesn't have that super heavy bassiness to it, which I kind of liked as well. I gotta admit, I wasn't really that big of a fan of the repeated lyrics that they do. And by this time in the album, I started to get a little bit more over it. Like in the song Sexsexsex, which it has like a slower riff to it that I digged quite a bit. But again, just the repeating lyrics throughout this entire song, it kind of gets old after a while. I gotta admit that the vocals in Sexsexsex, just all the different styles that they use, helps out a lot. And it does feel like just a straight up old school hardcore song, thanks to mostly the drum work, I think. The song People Versus has a very fantastic cadence in the rhythm section to it. Sounds so good, it makes you want to start bobbing your head. The riff has like this ascending, descending progression to it. And the chorus riff is extremely chunky. The bridge is this wall of sound that comes at you thanks to the vocals and the layers, and it sounds like almost everybody in the band is singing along, which it's almost kind of playful as well. The outro of this song is just pure beauty and has tons of emotion in it as the vocals and the song kind of cleans up a little bit. Then you have the last song, the closing track, We Go Together, which has like this buzzsaw kind of riff and clean vocals and tons of cymbals in the intro. It's incredibly groovy, specifically in the verse. And then like this synthy atmospheric stuff starts to come in about like halfway through the song, throughout like the back half of it, as the song kind of takes like this weird turn where it just opens up and then the music comes in. It's just very stop and go. Again, lots and lots of repeated lines that I wasn't a huge fan of, but again, as always, the vocal styles, and it just helps break it up a lot. It kind of makes it not become so monotonous hearing the same line said to you over and over and over again. It's a solid finisher for this album, but it doesn't feel like it was made to be a closing track. It sounds like they didn't really finish this album off completely, give you like a whole lot of closure to it, which is still kind of good at the same time. It just feels like it's a bunch of songs just kind of thrown together with some of the similar themes, but it's not like really it's not like a concept thing that they were doing. So the end of it doesn't really feel that much like the end, at least not for me. I'd be willing to say that Every Time I Die has reached a peak with this album. It's so freaking good. They got everything in it, and they do it all so well, because I feel like they don't really take themselves too seriously. They're not afraid to have a little fun with like the vocals. They're not afraid to think outside the box with different riff styles and songwriting styles, and they're just not afraid to just do something different. And I feel like they don't do it with the idea of like, crap, we need to do something different. We need to reinvent ourselves. We need to do something revolutionary. No, they're like, you know what, it'd be kind of cool if we did this. And they try and figure out the best way to do it. They come up with the best way to do it somehow. And it just works for them. These guys are just so talented at being able to like create what they want to hear, and it just works for them. And I can't get over how well the vocal performances are on all of these songs, even like the weird kind of moments where like there's some System of a Down kind of stuff going on, or even the Deftone stuff. It just makes it more fun. It makes it more enjoyable. It doesn't feel like they're ripping off another band or anything like that. It's just a solid reference to them. The only issues I really had with this album is, like I mentioned, in a lot of these songs, they do a lot of like repeated lines where he just says like a line of like 4 or 5 words multiple times, at least 3 times for the most part. And it's usually screamed at you. But there are times when he does change it up and there's some clean vocals that are being repeated and then switches up to distorted, which helps out quite a bit. When everything's just being yelled at you, you kind of get over it. But then at the same time, when that happens, a lot of the songs start to feel kind of the same, especially when there's 16 songs in an album. I mean, if half of this album sounded one way and the other half sounded the other way, there's only like 3 or 4 songs that really break up and break away from the rest of the sounds on this album. All these songs kind of start to sound the same after a little while. All the riffs are just crazy all over the place. The drum work is all over the place. The bass lines are super fat and thick all the time. The vocals, even though there's a lot of freedom in them, I guess you could say, it's still a lot of songs kind of just blend together. When I was listening to this album all the way through just for fun, you kind of lose track of like where you're at, how many songs you listen to, which can kind of be a good thing, but at the same time, it's like, man, I'm only on song 10 and there's still 6 more to go. And if I wanted to get super crazy, I can continue to nitpick at just whatever. But like I said, this is like their peak. This is some of their best stuff that they've ever done. So with all that said, I got to give Radical by Every Time I Die a 8.9 out of 10. This album has been getting a lot of praise from what I've seen, and it might be kind of controversial that I expressed my opinion about what I didn't like about this album, about how repeated lines and just how everything's hardcore sounding all the time. So yeah, I want to know what you guys think. Leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of Radical. Let me know which one of your favorite songs is and what you would rate it. And as always, if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to give it a like. Leave a comment below letting me know what I should review next. If you want to help support me, my channel, you don't want to miss out on any of my future stuff, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon. Doing any of that stuff helps me out more than you could ever imagine. Even if you just take time out of your day to watch one of my videos, I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. And I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you happen to be watching this, and I will talk to you guys next time. I was